welcome everyone to another week of the Focus TV. We're joined by Tavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Cardell Dudley Jr., Malik Miller is here. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 41. We got a lot to get through tonight, so Octavia, the floor is yours. Your division kicks things off Thursday night. I know you hate big games where everyone's watching. You get Thursday all to yourself. That said, floor is yours.
I do. You know me so well. I hate primetime games because I just don't like everybody being in our business. But as you said, the NFL season kicks off Thursday with everybody in our business because we will be playing against the Dallas Cowboys on opening night on Thursday, which is, oh my God, I can't believe it's literally this close. I feel like I've been waiting forever for this. As I have stated multiple times, I will be in attendance. So I'm so excited to come back with actual live game knowledge of both games. For the NFC East this week, it kind of starts off like I feel like it always does with the divisional games. So we'll have the interdivisional games starting off the season. But we'll start with the Eagles. The Eagles will be playing against the Cowboys this Thursday. I just want to go over some of the things, some of the questions possibly going into the season that I personally have, other people might have for each team, and will they be able to live up or correct or continue down a path that ultimately all of them want to go, which is to the Super Bowl. I think some of the biggest questions for the Eagles coming into this was how will the defense stack up with key pieces that have left. We know that after the Super Bowl, they lost many key pieces and Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Mekhi Becton on the offensive side, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. That to me is going to be the biggest question mark going into this season is how will the defense stack up? Knowing how great they were last year, even though started off really, really slow. And now these players have another full off season in the Vic Fangio system. But we do have some newcomers that are coming into this party. But some of the key questions are going to be who's going to play opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. Right now, it seems like I believe Keely Ringo has a hamstring injury. He also didn't perform that well in the preseason. It looks like it's probably going to be Adoree Jackson. He's a vet. Hopefully, he also fares well than what he did in the preseason. But I think him being a veteran presence back there will also help them. And then they're also going to have to lean heavily on Sidney Brown, who's his third year, who, of course, he came off of a knee injury a year or two ago. You have the rookie and Andrew Makuba, who I think also was nursing a little bit of an injury. But the good thing before this game, there's only one player on the official injury report. Currently, it's Tanner McKee. Which isn't a great thing when your backup quarterback is a little bit injured, which is probably the reason why they did also trade for Sam Howell, where we know Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle both were cut. They did just not have a good preseason showing at all. So those are going to be some very, very things. They still don't have, they're trying to figure it out. Again, I don't think they've officially announced. I mean, we're 2 days out for it. But I think that's really what's the question going in on the defensive side. And then, of course, on the offensive side, there's another new offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts is going to have another play caller in his ear, which seems like it's every year. The last time there was a new offensive coordinator outside of Kellen Moore, of course, there were some problems, especially because the last time that they replaced an offensive coordinator internally, which was Brian Johnson, which was a quarterback coach previously, things didn't go too well. Kevin Petula is also an internal hire. He was the pass game coordinator. So he's been in the system. He's already come out publicly and stated that he does not plan to change anything. We know that in Philly, the ball runs through Saquon. I think that's also going to be a big question that a lot of people are going to talk about is, can Saquon repeat the season he had last year, or does he need to repeat the season he had last year? I think, of course, every year, more tape on you. They know schemes and things of that sort. Of course, the offensive line is pretty much the same with the exception of Mekhi Becton leaving. Yes, Saquon Barkley was voted number 1 player in the top 100. Which was well-deserved. That's not even being biased. It was definitely well-deserved for the season he had last year. The offensive line, again, still pretty much the same. Landon Dickerson has been cleared after the MCL situation he had. So that's good up front. But it's not going to be an easy fare. You know, they have a very tough schedule, of course, coming off as a Super Bowl champion. You typically get a pretty terrible schedule. I don't think they have any back-to-back home games, so they play home away, home away, home away, home away, pretty much the entire season. So those are going to be some question marks going into it. Can they do it? Of course. That offensive line, of course, missing just Mekhi Becton, who will be replaced by Tyler Steen, who's been in the system as well. They did also get Fred Johnson back from the Jaguars for some depth, knowing that Landon Dickerson, of course, has a knee injury. Tackles are squared away. We know Cam Jurgens was handpicked by Jason Kelce as a center. So all in all, they're in a good space. But of course, they're going to go against the Dallas Cowboys. And I always talk about in games inside the division, you never know what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, as much as I feel like my team's showing on Thursday, you never know what's going to happen when you have games within the division. As we know, the biggest story, of course, coming out of Dallas, Michael Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. I appreciate you guys for getting him out of my division. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it was crazy, to be fair. I think as the day went on and it actually started like percolating a little bit more that this was actually a possibility, I said, they're really going to trade Micah. They really going to do it. And I was surprised that they traded him to a conference foe. Mind you, a foe who got them out of the playoffs the last time that they were in there 2 years ago. But I'm sure this was not a part of their plan. Jerry can say it was, whatever. This was not a part of his plan. If it was, he would have done this months and months and months and months ago. But I think some of the questions, of course, outside of how will they be post Micah, we know that I think if on the positive side, if you could have a positive side, Micah hasn't practiced in the preseason with them at all. So they're used to him not being there, at least in the preseason. So really nothing should change to a certain degree. But of course, we know a lot of key players in their camp had full faith that he would be there. So who knows if they were game planning for him to be there. But as we know now, he won't. We know Jerry came off and said that, you know, this was a good deal, knowing that one of their biggest things that they need to worry about is stopping the run. And I think that's also going to be a big key point or a big question mark going into the season for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just basically running, period. Can you stop the run and can you run the ball? I believe Miles Sanders was on the injury report as well. We know Jadon Blue didn't have a great preseason. And I think they still have Rico Dowdle. So we know it's still going to be running back by committee with them. Offensive line, on paper, I think they're pretty okay, but they really have to go out there and do it. It's going to be kind of hard. Like I said, their biggest issues, they have a poor run game, poor run defense. Those areas, of course, are still major concerns. They didn't make significant upgrades in those positions of the defensive tackle or the running back position. And then you're going into with a brand new head coach, although we know Brian Schottenheimer has been in the building. It seems like they want to be bully, run the ball, but it seems like a lot of it is going to be predicated on the arm of Dak Prescott, as well as CeeDee Lamb and newcomer George Pickens. I'm pretty sure there's an over-under of how many crash outs we'll have of George Pickens this year. But I'm wondering if he's really going to be there, knowing that this is probably one of the best offenses that he's been in since he's been in the league. And he's going to have a prime opportunity to really be what CeeDee Lamb has been really looking for, which is a solidified number 2, which will hopefully open up some more lanes for CeeDee as well. With everything that CeeDee has done without a clear-cut number 2, if I was a Dallas Cowboy fan, I'd be very excited to see what he does with a solidified number 2. We just have to, of course, see it translate in with George Pickens. So those are just some of the things that I think that they're going to have to, shore up throughout the season, as well as, of course, starting off against the defending champions. It's going to be an emotional night to a certain degree. I know the Philadelphia Eagles have already come out and said we're not even going to be on the field when they raise the banner, which I think we're doing a little bit much. Like, I get it. We're on to the next year, but bro, y'all can be out there when the banner get raised for the fans, but I digress. On the other side of the NFC East, we have the Washington Commanders, who will open up against the New York Giants. I think some of the questions going into the season for them is going to be how will their defense fare, as well as how is their depth. We saw in the preseason that pretty much after the ones, it was kind of not good. So I'm interested to see how they have tried to shore up that depth. Another big thing for me is they went from being one of the youngest teams in the league to now being one of the oldest teams in the league. They have the oldest roster in the NFL and enter the season with a number of banged up players, including starting guard Sam Cosmi, who of course is coming off the ACL injury, and Brandon Coleman and receiver Noah Brown. We know Terry McLaurin also missed time with the offseason for contract situations, as well as I believe an ankle foot type of situation as well. So that, and then of course you bring in the likes of Von Miller, Laramie Tunsil, who will definitely help shore up that offensive line for them. And of course, they do still also have Zach Ertz. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. Also, Deebo Samuels, I forgot. So going from one of the youngest teams in the league to now being the NFL's oldest team. Hopefully, they fared pretty well last year with health. But health can be very finicky. I believe Marshawn Lattimore is apparently 100% healthy with his hamstring that he had last year, which they're definitely going to need him in the secondary to play like Marshawn Lattimore of the yesteryears. So I think their defense is always just going to be, kind of wait and see how it all plays together. I think also a big question that everybody is going to ask, of course, is Jayden Daniels. Will there be a sophomore slump? Everything that we saw in the preseason, everything that we saw last year leads me to believe the answer is no. But I believe that we thought the same thing with CJ Stroud a couple of years ago as well. But I do think that Jayden Daniels is poised to have another breakout year. I am interested to see that now people have a full year's tape on him to see if there are any new things that they deploy against him. But like I said, in the preseason game that he played in, I don't know. He looked just as good as he did last year. So they definitely have their guy. I think we knew that last year, of course, but they have their guy. But of course, the questions are going to be that sophomore slump can be real. A lot of people say, like, there's no way he's that good. Is it really going to translate over continuously? I personally think it will, but of course, you got to see it to believe it. So that's just some of the question marks going into the season for the Commanders. On the other side, we have the New York Giants. Again, they'll be playing against the Washington Commanders. I think the biggest question is how long before we see Jackson Dart. We know that Russell Wilson will go into the season as the starting quarterback. They have already named Jackson Dart as the backup quarterback, knowing that they still have Jameis Winston and they cut Tommy DeVito. Jackson Dart looked good with some rookie lapses of not knowing when to slide. So that will be something that, of course, that they want to make sure that he is fully aware of. Will we see a resurgence of Russell? I don't know. I mean, last year I thought that we would, and it was there for maybe a little tiny bit. But will we really see it, knowing that one of their deficiencies always is just their offensive line? Russell behind it. I know he moved well in his younger years. Is he going to continue to be able to do that? How long does he, keep Jackson Dart off the field? Is it really his to take it for the whole season, or is it just his to take it far enough where they feel like Jackson Dart is further enough along to potentially try to save Brian Daboll's job? Even though I think a lot of people are kind of up in consideration of maybe this isn't a deciding factor for Daboll's job, knowing the fact that they did bring in Jackson Dart. So definitely question marks on that side. I think another question mark, of course, is on the defensive side. On paper, they look crazy. Like, we'll just keep it 100% honest. But can the offense put them far enough in ahead at advance where it will really make a difference? It's really going to be the situation, because if the defense is never on the field, or it's too much on the field, excuse me. We know how some of those long drives can go, even though we know they have the likes of Abdul Carter alongside Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, those are crazy names just off top. And we know that they've already been wreaking havoc in training camp, knowing that Dexter Lawrence hasn't even really played that much in the preseason. So I'm excited to see him, knowing how great of a defensive player he is. It's all really going to come back to the offense, how they're going to be able to fare so the defense can really get out there and eat and do what they really need to do, So hopefully for their sake, that all works out for them. But I'm super excited, to to start the season off. Definitely starting it off with the interdivisional games. Again, I don't really love us being primetime, but it is what it is. This comes with the territory, I guess. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's crazy that the season is literally 2 days away. We had college football last week, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that a little bit later. But super excited and can't wait.
Ray, the Washington Mystics have been busy over the past couple of weeks. There's been a lot going on. We watched chase the postseason, and we've seen how that's went. Some things have changed on that front. What you got on the Mystics this week?
Yeah, that postseason bid has officially ended with their loss to the Valkyrie on Saturday. They fell 99-62 and followed that up with an 81-78 loss to the Sparks on Sunday. So these last few games are just formality at this point. But yeah, they've been on the slide. They haven't won a game since August 17th. They're just kind of limping to the end of the season, and pretty much looking forward to the draft. But we kind of felt like that was going to be the case once they made those moves at the trade deadline. But the second half of the season has just been the rookie showcase. Kiki and Sonya, they've been turning it up, man. They've been the most consistent players on the team. They've had 19 games post All-Star to this point. Either Kiki or Sonya has led the team in scoring in 14 of those games, and either Kiki or Sonya has led the team in rebounding in 14 of those games. So they're just continuing their great rookie campaigns, and it's good to see them continue to develop and blossom, even given the circumstances. But yeah, this team is going to look very different next year. They got some things to address. We've been talking about them all season, namely shoring up the lead guard position. We know they still have Georgia in the tuck, but we don't know what she's going to look like coming off an injury. So yeah, man, this front office got some work to do. But yeah, like just you got the graphic up now. These two rookies have been definitely the bright spot of the season. It's rare you're able to get one rookie that seamlessly translates to the W, and they got two. So they got some young talent to build around. They both were named All-Stars. They both have scored 500 plus points in the season, which is the first time a rookie duo has ever done that in league history. So the future is bright for them. They just got to put the right pieces around them and continue to allow them to grow and develop. But yeah, man, definitely would have liked to see them in the season a little stronger. But yeah, this is stage one of the rebuild is not looking too bad. They still got a lot of draft capital, so with a couple of great draft classes coming up, so we'll see what the front office does. But yeah, they'll be back in action on Thursday. They'll be playing Phoenix, then they'll be playing Indiana. That's a home game. That'll be at CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore. Then they'll be finishing up their season Tuesday, September 9th against the defending champion New York Liberty. I want them to get at least one of them games because I do not want to see them lose 10 games in a row. But we'll see how that goes.
I'm going to show some growth there and not comment or piggyback off the 10-game losing streak at all because we're doing better now. Again, if you miss any of the recent Mystic outlooks, get over to our Twitter page or head over to the channel over on Roku, and you can check all those out. Cardell, Ray, myself, I think we asked a couple questions about the draft classes coming up and what the roster might look like consistently over the past few games. So if you want some more, get an in-depth answer of what we all had to say about that, please go back and watch some of those so you can hear that and more. All right, Cardell, going to hand it over to you. Take it or leave it a rapid fire. Where we starting at?
We're going to start on the take it or leave it side. We're going to stay on the WNBA side of things. The Liberty reigning champs of the WNBA, but they haven't been playing like it as of late. Saturday night, at the first half where it was a competitive game, they ended up getting blown out by the Phoenix Mercury. 83-63. Like I said, after a tightly contested first half, the Mercury held the Liberty to just 24 points in the second half. It was the fourth of 4 meetings between the teams in the regular season. Phoenix has won 3 of them. Liberty superstar Brandon Stewart was not happy with their team's effort after the game. Asked about the turnovers and second chance points New York gave up on the night, and the message in the locker room, Stewart did not hold back, quote, "It's not good enough. It's not going to cut it. Any of the things that we've done today, and honestly for a while, it's not going to get us where we want to be. This is not a championship level basketball at this point, and everyone needs to recognize that and understand that we need to get there. That starts with the mindset and then putting it onto the court." With the loss, the Liberty moved to 24-16 and currently sit in 5th place in league standings after starting the season 9-0. New York now has a losing record dating back to mid-June with 4 regular season games left to play. Since he hasn't talked yet, Malik, what's your thoughts? Do you agree?
Not only when it comes to the Liberty, but just when it comes to the women in the WNBA in general, the back end of the season is not where a lot of teams, after the first 10, 15 games, people were seeing and projecting a lot of these teams are finished. The Mystics finished a little bit more exciting than we mentioned than they did last season. Another team, the Fever, Caitlin Clark team at the beginning of the season, she's injured. She's not injured. They're sitting at either at 500 or over 500, fighting for a playoff spot. So the Liberty, they got to figure some things out when the playoffs come. Not any new recipes. They just got to get everybody to lock in. It's a long season for everybody that's playing. So they just got to figure out with the last few games that they have. They just got to figure out how they want to go into the playoffs. Starting the season off 9-0, then you got to play teams like Vegas. Vegas is hot. Vegas is another team that's turned the switch on, and they're hot. Moving some people to the bench, moving some people to the starting lineup. Seattle's another team that has 3 monsters. So just not even this team not more so losing it, but other teams more so figuring it out. And so then this is the when all the teams are close to arm's reach. This is the WNBA that's going to sell them tickets. That's going to bring them the light that they want to see. Because honestly, it can be anybody's championship at the end of the season right now.
Okay, I'll tell you. Are you with Stewie on her projection for the team right now?
I mean, she know better than anybody. So I mean, of course, we know that they've had some injuries this year, but I mean, what team hasn't? To be fair, I know they've had injuries to their key players. We know Emma came in mid-season. It's been up and down for them. I think the scariest part about the fact that they lost to the Phoenix Mercury the way that they did, and like you just stated, 3 out of 4 games, is they've fallen so far in the standings that they're slated to play them in the playoffs. So where they currently sit right now. So that's not a good feeling, knowing that you're just not obviously matching up well against them. So they definitely got some soul searching to do. The one thing that I could, grasp onto is the fact that, they're champs. They've been here before. They got MVPs on their team. They know what it takes to get it together. We saw, like we talked about, the Vegas Aces are now they hot, but we saw how much they struggled earlier in the year as well. So we know that these teams can pull it together. They're just making it that much harder for themselves in this sense. So I think they have a chance, of course, starting the season off 9-0, knowing that the talent that they have, the coaching that they have as well. They really just got to get it together. And it's going to take their veterans, their MVPs, Stewie, Jonquel, even, I'm sure Sabrina is a voice of reason, Tasha, all of them, they've been in, all of them have won championships at this point. So they know what it takes to get there. They just really got to buckle down and do it. And knowing that where they currently sit at, knowing where they could have been sitting at, definitely should light some fire underneath them, knowing that right now where they sit at, I believe when I just looked at it, they're like one of the only 2 teams that haven't even 2 or 3, 4 teams that have not solidified a playoff spot. They haven't completely clinched yet, although we expect them to, but they really need to get it together knowing that the season is ending. And you don't want to end the season on a bad note and then try to go into the playoffs and change it around. They got to get it together right now.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you said, they're also, along with the Valkyries, out of all the teams that are slated to be in the playoffs right now in the standings, the Liberty and Valkyries are the only two that have losing records on the road. So that's a tough hill. Ray, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely agree with with Stewie's synopsis situation. They're not performing how they were performing early in the season, and it's for a myriad of reasons. Octavia touched on the injuries, and I mean, yeah, it takes a while to get that continuity back, but you just hate to be limping into the playoffs, man, especially in this league, and especially while other teams are ramping up. But they do have that championship medal, they do have that experience, and they have talent. They have the components to turn it around, but it's just a matter of can they do that while other teams are finding their rhythm. You guys have mentioned Vegas several times. That's one of the craziest turnarounds we've seen, and I mean they're on a heater, and they went from 9th to 2nd. Nobody's going to want to see them in the playoffs with the way they're playing right now. But yeah, New York, I think Stewie knew what she was doing by making those statements publicly. She's telling her team, yeah, man, we gotta get it together. And I'm sure they're having conversations probably as well. But yeah, though, with the way they're playing now, it's going to be tough sledding for them.
Yes, the Aces are on a 12-game winning streak, blazing hot. Wilson.
Hey, man, you brought up the Aces winning streak specifically. We'll start there. Ray said they're on a heater. We need to find a word past heater. That's what they're currently on. 12-0 with no signs of slowing down. You got Minnesota, who they've had fees in the lineup, out the lineup. That said, they've handled their injury situation a little bit better. Well, definitely better than New York this season. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Atlanta's 7-3 in their last 10. The Mercury are 7-3 in the last 10. So right now, Minnesota's 2-game win streak. Vegas, as Cardell just mentioned, 12-game win streak. The Dream, 2-game win streak. The Mercury, 4-game win streak. The Valkyrie, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're on a 3-game win streak. You know who messes up all that winning when you're looking at the standings? Stewie's Liberty, and this is why she's bringing them up right now. They 4-6 in their last 10. Like Ray said, you talk about limping to the playoffs. They're crawling there, and it's not good. Cardell, you mentioned the away records, right? One of the only two teams that have poor away records. If they can't close the ground on the Mercury have home court advantage in that series. So Stewie's trying to sound the alarm. This is a legit winner screaming, trying to get her team to let them know. Sense of urgency now. It's not something you can build up into. Like go time is now, because if you have to go into Phoenix. You already know right now if nothing changes, if Phoenix holds serve, we're going to think back to that game where they just aired you out by 20. I think Stewie had 35 in that game. And that's why you're playing. That's one of the reasons that you're going to be playing a pivotal game on the road. Can't afford it. And the other thing is, we sat here and talked about, Minnesota at the beginning of the season, just like we talked about the Liberty. I'm talking about just everybody in general. With no one will be surprised if we see either one of them back there. If the Liberty do not make it back there the way they're heading into the playoffs and nothing changes, that's just a disappointment. It's just a disappointment. We was it a couple weeks ago we talked about when they added Emma to the mix and everything. I think Cardell, you mentioned that was a great one of the other great points of that was that it was injury insurance. All right, well, right now you have a chance to go into the playoffs as healthy as you've been maybe in the last couple of months. You got to get your stuff together. So I'm wholeheartedly with Stewie on this one.
All right, moving on, but we stand on the WNBA side of things. Caitlin Clark hasn't played in the WNBA game since injuring her groin in the middle of July. And while the Indiana Fever hopes she can return for at least the postseason, one WNBA legend thinks it would be best for Clark if she didn't play at all until next season. Hall of Famer Lisa Leslie had a strong warning for Clark and the Fever about a possible return this year. The Hall of Famer suffered the same injury during her career and knows just how dangerous it can be if Clark comes back a little bit too soon. Quote, you want to see Caitlin Clark for the longevity of her career. Me personally, I would not put her back on the floor this season. And the only reason why I say that is because I had the injury she had. You make one move, one cut, and she's back in the same spot. Caitlin Clark spent much of the 2025 WNBA season recovering from a multitude of injuries, including ailments to her groin, her quad, as well as a bone bruise to her left ankle. Octavia. Caitlin says she's ready to go and she gets cleared. Do you put her back on the court? You say, nah, wait till next season.
Nah, wait till next season because they're not making no noise now. You know, like they let's just keep it a bug. They're not going. I feel like Kelsey Mitchell had an amazing year. Like let's definitely give just do where we can. She did everything she could possibly do to drag them along without Caitlin. But I don't think like Lisa said, it's not worth the risk of, you know, the type of player that she'll be in the upcoming years. Especially because outside of the groin, it's been other numerous injuries as well. And I believe they even said that she was slated to come back earlier in the month and she had a setback. So it's clear that she's still not 100%. I don't understand why you would rush her back knowing that let's just keep it a buck. It's not going to end in a championship for you guys this year. So I understand why you would risk your franchise on this situation. To me, she needs to continue to rehab. She needs to continue to get stronger because, I mean, that's got to also be part of this situation that, you know, we've seen her get thrown around a lot. So she definitely is some things that she want to get her body completely together for. We know previous to this year, going into her rookie year, there was a lot of basketball that she played. And so maybe she's still feeling some of the effects of that. But yeah, I would leave it. I'm not putting her out there. And, you know, I'm going to let the team that's been playing these last couple of months go out there, you know, prove what they can do. And unless some crazy thing happens where they go on some, like we talk about some Las Vegas Aces heater, and you guys get an opportunity, maybe. And I mean, that's like a very, very small slither of a maybe. But outside of that, I'm going to tell her to pack it up, send her back to Iowa at this point. Just go home, rest, ramp up, whatever you need to do, because I don't think it's worth it either.
No, I'm sending her somewhere else. That's probably the reason why she injured. She went back to Iowa. Ray, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, at this point, I think the risk is too great to send her back out there. She's obviously super banged up this year. They probably shouldn't have put her back out when they did for her to get re-injured. But yeah, like Octavia said, nothing super good is going to come out of putting her back on the floor. And then on top of that, trying to work her back into a team that's kind of gelling and figuring it out amongst themselves is, at this point, you know, it's 3-4 games left in the season and it's playoffs. Going to put her out there. As a player, she's going to try to do whatever it is she can do to help the team. And like Lisa said, one wrong move that you're right back at square one. So I think the smarter thing is just to continue to let her rehab, continue to let her get stronger and build her body up and give her the rest that she needs, pretty much. But yeah, throwing her back out there now is just a recipe for disaster.
Malik.
Nothing to reinvent the wheel. Ray and Octavia said it as best it can be said. Even going on a playoff run, this team is this team. Her plan on this team might be good for this team, but it's not good for the franchise. And that's a specific saying because every year there's a different team. Everybody on that team this year is not going to be on the team next year. So her plan, her jumping back in with a team that's been gelling, that's been beating some people that's going to be in the playoffs, that's been getting a close game with other teams. Some of these girls, some of the women that's on the team this year won't be on the team next year. And especially some of them won't get the amount of shots, the amount of assists, the amount of rebounds or steals they can get if she plays in these final 4 games, which for her really doesn't mean anything to her contract or to the things that she got going on or to the big idea of what the franchise wants. Now, we can get more people off the bench. We can get more people we might find a gym. Last 4 games, Indiana Fever might find another gym. They might see something in somebody that the minutes will not be able to allow if Caitlin Clark plays on this team, as well as to go with all the injuries and everything else y'all already said. But yeah, I think she should shut it down for the year, get her body together, and go over the summer. We can see a good 8 to 9 women that could play, that can make a run, because they won a lot of games for to have no star player, no franchise player, their franchise player.
Wilson.
I think it's a no-brainer. Sit her down. Really contribute to this year. It's nothing to do with what's going on right now. And as Lisa Leslie said, that injury is really tricky. Anytime an athlete's out for most of the year with something, she needs to go ahead and, 1, fully rehab, 2, build her body back up to a place that it needs to be to sustain playing in the W, playing a lot of minutes. And I know this injury was a setback, obviously, in the big picture, but the blessing could be maybe you can finally take the time to try to get your body to where it should be, because it wasn't where it should have been heading into the W. And we know how these women don't have the breaks that the men do after leaving college and going in. Like, you leave, it's a couple weeks, and you're in the pros, which is why it's that much more important for you to have your body W ready, because it is even if you have it ready, the W is still going to be a shock to you. And we saw her, she got through the first year. This year, just not there, regardless if the Fever go on a run or what have you. For me, it has nothing to do with her. Sit your butt down, get yourself together. So you can come back next year and help the team for years going forward. This group, what they've done, shout out to them. And again, I'm not trying to go to some of these interesting conversations, but their record is better than last year. She played all last year. The record currently right now is better than last year. But again, for her, no, she doesn't need to come back. And yes, she needs to take the time to work on her body, man. Like, you got to catch up. It's a physical league. You have to ball a lot. You're going to get hit. Like, that's just part of it.
I'm with y'all. Obviously, she do need to sit up, but I think a little bit. I'm not 100% with that. It depends on if she comes back in the regular season. Like, if she comes back and play a couple games and she's fine at the end of the regular season, see what she can do in the playoffs. But I will put her off the bench. I will bring her in if she stays healthy. Bring her. I will put her in a different role. You come off the bench and run that, and not necessarily like demoting her or nothing like that. It's just to make sure she can contribute, but not put all that pressure on her and just put her in the starting alignment, especially with the chemistry that they got going on. I know it's different, but it's still similar. The Jordan thing, when he missed most of the season, he came back at the end of the season and they scared the shit out the Celtics and stuff like that. And that built momentum going forward to where, where they eventually became. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but the WNBA playoffs is very tricky sometimes, man. And they're like, right now they're slated to go against the Aces, who's hot, but they match up well with the Aces. They play them tough. So it's a wait and see thing. If she can't come back in the regular season, obviously shut it down. That's a no-brainer, because you can't just throw somebody that's played 13 games into the playoffs. You're asking to get hurt. That intensity is even more than the regular season. But if she manages to play a couple games in the regular season, she feel fine. She can get through that and stuff like that. Why not? You know what I'm saying? But I would talk to her like it's a different role you're gonna have to play for right now. In this first round, I won't just put you in your star lineup where you're paying 35 minutes. Then you're asking again for something stupid to happen. But if you coming in off the bench, 6-1 or whatever you want to call it, she playing her 15 minutes here and all that. Why not? You know what I mean? Because then she's not really impacting chemistry, and then on top of that, she's going against the second unit for the most part. She's going against whoever the reserves. And that should be a load she can handle if she's able to play a couple games in the regular season, try to get her legs back under her. Because the advantage for her is she's fresh. Everybody else is in rhythm, but she's fresh. She got a lot of energy. And the thing is, obviously, I know she's been watching the team. They don't need her to be a hero. Just come in and don't keep the turnovers down. Just play a smart game. And then the ship's going to fall with their man. But it's like what Octavia said, no one's really looking at them to challenge for a championship at this point, even though they have players as they continue to mature that that you can see it in the future where they could be at that point. It's you just want to play it smart, but see what she can give you. You know what I'm saying? And if she can't come back in the regular season in a couple games, it's like their last couple games, Mystics, and then the Lynx. And I don't anticipate the Lynx playing. They got their ladies heavy minutes because they're getting ready for the playoffs. They got the top seed wrapped up. If she could play in those, get through those fines, and start to build a rhythm, why not? Because think about it. At that point, if you're going to play me in the last couple games of regular season, then just sit me out in the playoffs, what was the point of bringing me back in the first place? You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, it's predicated if she comes back. I see the report she's playing 5-on, so something's going on. Because otherwise, it'd be like, why even do that? You should just work out, should be lifting in the back or whatever you're doing and getting ready for that. So clearly, they trying to see if she can try to get on the court the last couple games to see if they can get her there for the playoffs. Because, again, that's an advantage for the Fever. Most of the teams have been playing against the Fever without her. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know how the coaches are thinking. They're looking at it like, yeah, she can come back for a couple games for the regular season, get us in the playoffs. That's an advantage because that's a whole different threat for us that we didn't have. You know, despite her weaknesses and limitations, the gravity she pulls with the way she can knock down shots and stuff like that, the threat that helps their team. You know what I mean? And that's going to open things up, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, I would bring her in as a 6-woman role and try to navigate things like that. And then depending on how good she plays, she may finish the game or whatnot. We'll go from there. But right now, they should keep things as packed as far as the rotation, just trying to implement her as they can so you don't mess up that chemistry. Because I think even if she do come back, if you just put her in the starting lineup and we back to how we was, you can mess up the whole chemistry, then they're going to just get punished. You know what I mean? So you got to be smart with a lot of things. But they're not ramping her up for no reason, man. So we're going to see. I just think if she get on the court, we'll see her in the playoffs. If she doesn't, then it's done. We're going to move on to rapid fire. Obviously, some sad news in the basketball world. We're going to start off with George Raveling, Hall of Fame basketball coach, who's had his hands in a lot of things in basketball, passed away. Cancer, long battle with cancer. He was 88 years old. A lot of people like to portray themselves to be gatekeepers, so to speak, but he really was one of them. Obviously we know about the Nike. He's been a global ambassador for Nike for decades. But the first black coach in the Pac-8, what we call Pac-12, that's no longer here, where UCLA, USC, all those teams played in. He was the first black coach there. Had a career record 335, 293. Coached at Washington State and Iowa. Took him to multiple trips in the NCAA tournament. Got on USA basketball staffs in 1984. Won a gold medal in 1984. Was instrumental in Michael Jordan getting with Nike because he coached him on the 84 team. They grew close, and he was in his ear about taking a look at Nike, and obviously we all know what came from that. He was also on the staff in 1988. He's had his hands in so much, especially when it came to Nike. I know the Nike Global Challenges that was here in the early 2010, 2013, 2014, 2012, in that range. I went there to, scout a number of players who made it to the league, like Devin Booker, Tyus Jones, Kelly Oubre, all those guys, D'Angelo Russell. That was here in D.C. He brought that here to D.C. And that's big because he's a D.C. native. A lot of people don't know that. So he pretty much is bringing the best of the best back home. And, it was, he made that period where the lockout and all that, USA Basketball 2012, the Nike Global Challenge, the early 2010s, the DMV, we used to send a basketball or something. Real. And then you had the Boo Williams with the EYBL. Raveling had his hands in that, man. It's just, he's touched a lot of things, man. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to get y'all thoughts on, the passing of a true legend and basketball. Ray, start with you.
Yeah, just the first thing that comes to mind, like you said, the amount of influence that he's had on basketball through all levels is it's crazy, man, and I think an opportunity has been missed with with people not doing something with him that was like widespread for him to be able to tell his story or impart knowledge, um, especially since sports journalism and journalism period has pretty much been dying for the last 10 plus years. That's a voice that needs to be heard. But now we've lost that opportunity. But yeah, just the imprint he's made on the game. Like you take him away, and basketball is not basketball as we know it. That's just undeniable facts. But yeah, man, the amount of things he was able to accomplish, not even outside of basketball as well. Like he was one of the security guards when Martin Luther King did the I Have Dreams speech here. And you mentioned him being a DC native. He was able to have a hand in that. Yeah, man, just people that have lived amazing lives, man. And now when they go, that all that knowledge, all that history, everything like that is just lost. So yeah, every time we talk about one of these guys, unfortunately after they pass away on the show, the first thing that comes to my mind is I hope now when people are starting to, tweet out these stories and talk about them, that people that weren't familiar go back and do some research to see what he was about. Because I mean, you can't tell the story of basketball without George Raveling. You brought up the Michael Jordan Nike thing. If he doesn't insert himself in that situation, like what does the basketball apparel world look like? What does Michael Jordan's legacy look like? It's what does Nike look like? Because if Nike don't have Mike, that company probably goes under. So I mean, yeah, it's just crazy the amount of influence he's had. Yeah, definitely. Prayers up to his family and loved ones. Fortunately, I actually was able to interact with him. Through he used to frequently stay at a hotel I was working at, and first time I saw him, I just addressed him Mr. Raveling, show him respect and all that. He was surprised that I knew who he was. I don't know why, but I mean, I guess he wouldn't just look at me and assume, I'm in the basketball, what have you. But he was able to have some pretty good conversations, and that was that's just things I don't take for granted, to be able to connect with somebody that had that much to do with how basketball has been developed over the years. So yeah, man, he'll definitely be missed. Yeah, and I just hope that his legacy is able to be amplified in a way that's deserving.
Yeah, before I go on, he actually does have a documentary on his life. It's called Unraveling George. It came out this summer, making its rounds in the documentary circuit or whatnot. A whole bunch of heavy hitters in there from all the Nike people, Doc, Dirk Nowitzki, and all that. So yeah, they did a live thing on yeah, there you go. Over the summer. I don't know if it's hitting like Netflix or if it's coming to theaters. That's something I gotta dig in more, but it is a documentary on him. I know him and Ed, one of my best, Ed Mize, they work the what was that? I don't know, I can't remember if it was the Peach Basket or the Top 100 camp. But I know him and George worked together because, like I said, he was the global ambassador for Nike, so he got all the top global talent to come. And that's when Dirk Nowitzki first came here and put in work. And that's how he got in the Nike Who Summer, and the rest is history. He killed the USA team, and then he got drafted, and the rest is history. So I know they had their hands in that happening. With that same thing later on with Yao Ming, and all that, man. So yeah, they go back a ways, man. But yeah, it is out there. I just got to find out where it's showing, if it is showing somewhere. But it is a documentary on his life. Yeah, and it's actually narrated by Marlon Wayans or whatnot. So who played him in Air, the documentary on Michael Jordan signing with Nike, man. So it's a Wilson, your thoughts?
Similar to what Ray said earlier, it's just one of those things, once again, where we find out somebody who meant a lot to this game that is gone before everyone's able to fully celebrate them. And I know I say this every time we have one of these moments. Just it's the information age, and I feel like people just don't know anything. People struggle to find anything or learn anything. Hope anybody catches what you guys have been saying, takes the opportunity to learn more about them. I know I'm learning more. I'm not from the area. I'm learning more. I know Cardell talked to you earlier today. Gave me some great insight, some great background, something definitely going to find that and try to give it a watch. It's just amazing how many people from this area have played such a big role in the game globally. What not always just on the court, obviously they've all played at some level, but just even after their playing days are over, just playing a big role, giving back, finding ways to help the game go forward. But appreciate again for the imprint that he left on the game and in the area.
And one more note, just picked up on it. I forgot. He was the first Black coach in the ACC as an assistant coach under Lefty Driesell back in the University of Maryland. So, with the great Maryland teams, them Lucas teams, the Lynn Elmores, McMillan, and all those teams and whatnot. So, Malik, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was about to touch in on the Maryland situation. He got there in 1969. Whether it be just from him doing that, him being the coach for Team USA, him being there with Martin Luther King doing the I Have a Dream speech, he just wore a lot of hats, and I'm appreciative. I'm from D.C., so, and you taught me today about him just bringing the camps. He was the leader of bringing the camps to D.C., the basketball camps. I knew they was here. I didn't know he led the charge with that. Just bringing more positive awareness to the society that resonates with me, to the things that people don't see on TV and to the things that aren't taught. But people need to realize what type of pioneers that really come from this city, that really come from these waters. And that is, you can do more than the things that they portray Black people to be. And so, this was really big. He used his influence to be, like Ray mentioned earlier with Martin Luther King. He had the original I Have a Dream. My bad. He had the original words and documents to the I Have a Dream speech. He put it in the National Black History Museum. You can find that. You can go look at that. And he also took it to Villanova, where he was also once at. So just using all the responsibilities and the abilities that he had to just touch people, to just help people, whether it be Michael Jordan or the little people of the world or just being security. He was just a pure human, and like Ray said, his voice needs to be echoed. His work needs to be put out for everybody to understand. Everybody from this age to 40 years ago, everybody needs to see what was going on.
Octavia.
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up really well. To me, it's always sad when situations like this happen where it becomes a learning opportunity for those who don't know, and it's because somebody has passed on, and that's when everybody, I won't say everybody, but that's when, sometimes people get introduced to somebody, because one thing you guys teach me a lot of stuff about the history of the game like this. So yeah, I mean, just the type of influence that he had, not only on the game, on the culture, like you talked about, and without the Jordan signing, like, our culture would be so much different. Like, not even just, of course, basketball, but our culture would be so much different as well. So it's always sad when one of those, pioneers go, are gone, and now we're forced to, look back at the things that maybe we should have been looking at more so when he was alive. I'm glad to hear that they do have a documentary out, and it did come out before he passed. So hopefully he was able to be, I'm sure there are people who give him his flowers all the time, but it's nice to see that on a larger scale that, he was given his flowers for his influence and the things that he's done in the league and for the Black community and for our area as well. So definitely wishing his family, deepest condolences, because it's hard enough to deal with the passing of somebody, in your family, but also knowing that there's such a, impact on other people's in their lives. So it's definitely tough in that situation. So I hope they're doing well.
Yeah, also to piggyback off what y'all said, Mike Tomlin, if y'all remember, he directed The Last Dance with the Bulls. So, I anticipate this George Raveling dog to be on point, you know what I mean, whenever they decide to release. I know the trailer's out there. I just don't think it literally made its rounds in July. And then, the documentary tour or whatever, film tour thing. So, like Sundance and all that, Tribeca and all that. So it's fairly new. And, obviously it just turned September. So I don't even think it's out for with streaming, but I can imagine it's coming. And it was produced by Charles Barkley and narrated by Marlon Wayans. Like I said, Doc Rev with some heavy hitters, Jay Wright, former Villanova champion, all that. It's some heavy hitters in it talking about his impact. But yeah, he knocked down a lot of barriers, man, and he brought a lot to the area, and invented new ways where a lot of players can be showcased and seen that changed their lives, man. So, just know a lot of people didn't even know he from our area. That's why, when I say we're the best in basketball, I'm not just saying off the talent and all that. Our contributions from our area alone, it throughout history speaks for itself, man. So basketball in general would not be what it is without the DC area, the DMV, period. This small little area has produced so much talent in various ways and various lanes. It's ridiculous, man. So, definitely rest in peace. Hopefully, the more positive things that he stood for, more the new coaches can adopt and start to implement. Because we starting to lose the OGs. The OGs were more selfless. Too many of the new coaches are about self. Then they get to the kids later. You know what I mean? But it should be about the kids. You had your time. You as an adult, you help them mature. Use basketball as a tool to not just help them grow as a player, but grow as a man or grow as a young lady. And then they become productive members of society. You did your job, and that's the whole point in using this game. So again, rest in peace, and definitely when that dog does premiere, I'm gonna be all over it, watching it, and trying to soak in more game. But Wilson, is on you.
As always, we appreciate you guys for spending this time with us this week. We'll see you next week, same time. By then, can't wait to see what Octavia's mood is at the end of fourth quarter on Thursday.
I don't know.
And with that statement is how you know it's officially football season. She prefers to not be here after the Eagles' potential loss. It is officially, that is the official kickoff for football season when Octavia makes that threat. But we appreciate y'all. Don't forget to get over Roku. If you have a Roku television device, all you got to do is type in the Focus TV in the search box, double tap OK to add the channel. Obviously, get over to FocusTV.com, and the greatest way is just right over there on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X, so I'll fight with y'all to the death for that. On Twitter, just the Focus TV, and also on IG. Guys, just keep up to date. Wizards Outlook folks already know it's a great way to be in touch with us. Wizards Outlook folks will be seeing y'all very, very soon. Because if kickoff is on Thursday, that means training camp is like a couple weeks. It's a month away, but it's gonna feel like a week away from now. So that'd be yet another segment out here. So we appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.